Hello everyone. I'm reading from chapter 16. The chapter is titled Peace of Mind, and in my last reading I read till verse number 6. So today I will start from verse number 7 to 12. Okay. Thought, which is a blemish, a fault, does not exist. The world that appears does not exist. There is not an atom of egoity or such. In truth, all is the undivided Supreme Brahma. I am the Supreme, which is blemishless knowledge, and which is full and all-pervading. Until you attain that state of being, in a state of sleep without sleeping, continuously meditate thus, and be at peace. There is nothing in the least as here and the hereafter. All is the Supreme Brahma, which is myself. I indeed am of the nature of the Supreme Brahma, the mass of bliss. I indeed am of the nature of the Supreme Brahma, which is pure knowledge. I am of the nature that shines as itself, as I. I indeed am the Supreme, of undivided nature. Until all mental illusions are overcome, meditate always thus, and be at peace. I myself am of the nature of the faultless supreme existence. I myself am of the nature of the supreme consciousness. I myself am of the nature of the supreme bliss. I myself am of the nature of the all-pervasive, all-present, all-penetrating. I myself am of the nature that has no parts or such. I myself am the higher than the highest, the Supreme Brahma. Until what appears as the world disappears, meditate always thus, and be at peace. All is always of the nature of Brahma. The world, the individuals, and the Supreme are of the nature of Brahma. I indeed am of the nature of the Supreme Brahma, which is all. I myself am of the nature of the Supreme Brahma, which is taintless, which is blemishless, faultless. I myself am ever only the undivided Supreme Brahma. I am ever only the blemishless Supreme Brahma, until what appears as the world and all else disappears. I repeat, until what appears as the world and all else disappears. Meditate always thus, and be at peace. Truly, the world and such never are. Only fickle thought appears as the world. Hence, son, it can be said that thought is the illusory world. Thought is the great defect. Thought indeed is the great delusion. Thought is what constitutes the cycle of birth and death, and appears as a child and such. Thought only is the body and all. Thought alone is what appears as the being. Thought alone is what appears as all. Hence, son, the world, the individuals, and the supreme are filled with thought only. Thought is entirely unreal, illusory, and completely false, like the son of a barren woman, like the horns of a hare, and ever void. There is no doubt of this. Okay, I'll read one more verse, verse 13, because in this context it seems that it is important that I continue. Son, though thought itself, due to lack of inquiry, appears as the world, individuals, and the supreme, thought itself inquired into is only Brahma. Consciousness without the least trace of the world or individuals and the supreme. I'll repeat the last two sentences. Though itself inquired into, sorry, correction, thought itself inquired into is only Brahma or consciousness without the least trace of the world or individuals and the supreme. So he's saying thought, when it is inquired into, is only Brahma or consciousness, and there is no trace of the world or individuals or the God. Everything else that exists beside the consciousness is created by the thought. Okay, I'll continue. To overcome thought easily, be ever seriously engaged in the inquiry and be at peace, realizing the world and all that are full of thought are indeed Brahma, that is consciousness, and I am that. Thank you so much for listening. We'll continue from the next verse 14 in my next reading session.